Welcome, welcome, welcome to my old subscribers and new people who've been sticking around, and some new people who've been coming by thanks to good old Marx Max Muscle. And also thanks to Marx Max Muscle, we've got a two-judge comparison here today. I'm making a video to help him judge the final matchup in his Dorian Yates Mr. Olympia showing tournament. It's been really fun. It's really great to see his take on all these people. And Dorian Yates was one who was awesome most years, in most cases. And there are always things to talk about, nitpick here, takeaway details there, and everything. So this is going to be a fun matchup. We're getting my take on this as well as his take, and we're going to post it at the same time. I haven't seen his video. He hasn't seen mine. We don't know what the other thinks about each version, so there's no bias going on here. Just two YouTubers giving their opinions. And hey, if we disagree, maybe we'll have to fire back and see again. Starting off here, we've got the front relaxed. And it looks here like in 95, he's focusing more on controlling the waist in. I know in 94, he got a lot of backlash for a soft, distended stomach. And so in 95, he was trying to say, look, I'm not that bad condition. I don't have that waist extension. And so he was focusing a lot more on controlling the waist, keeping it in, keeping it tight. 93, he didn't have a reason to do that. No one ever seen anyone as big as him. He knew he was going to win regardless. And no one had been talking about anything wrong with his waistline then. So he was probably just, relaxing it more. I think naturally, if they were relaxed, 95 stomach would be a lot worse. But he's holding it better. And not only that, his lats are flaring out a lot more, his delt's a little thicker, and his pecs are a little more symmetrical and a little broader. So I'm going to give this front relaxed pose to 95, though 93's leg separation here is pretty solid. I'll give him that. This side relax, I know it's a little blurry on 93. I'm going to give this to 93. The arm is complete. This is after the bicep tear, and you can see that left bicep is torn. The abs are a little murky, a little, kind of gross, actually. And the conditioning overall is a bit better on 93. So, and the chest here is, in the last shot, 95's chest looked better. In this shot, the chest of 93 is opened up. There's a bit of that bow going on here. Kind of like Arnold, but obviously a lot smaller than Arnold. So yeah, that pose goes to 93. Now into the mandatory poses, front double bicep. And here we see where the biggest spot where that bicep tear takes its toll. The bicep in 95, it doesn't, when you look at it from a pure muscularity standpoint, it doesn't look that bad. It's still a very big bicep, just very high. But the biceps are so asymmetrical here from the left to the right. Whereas in 93, where while his biceps might be a little bit softer than they are in 95 there, with the right bicep of 95 even peaking up higher than 93 and definitely showing better separation, they're more symmetrical in 93, and the arms overall are a little bit fuller. On top of that, the waistline is actually tighter in 93 now, with the abs showing better definition and separation. His overall V-taper is better. His chest looks a little bit thicker, more complete, as well as his legs showing much better separation and hardness, and he's standing a little bit better so they look like they're sweeping more, even though 95's legs are a little bit thicker. So overall, like every single body part in this shot is going to 93. Next shot is the front lat spread, and these are the two best pictures I could find. I haven't found a website that has really good bodybuilding pictures from these old contests, so I've just been using Google Images, and when I was making this video, Google didn't have a lot to offer, especially when it came to the 95 front lat spread, which is shocking to me because the 95 front lat spread is one of the best front lat spreads of all time on the part of Dorian Yates. It was incredible. This picture here, I believe, is from the finals, and for whatever reason, everyone looked softer in the finals than the prejudging at 95. I don't know if it's what they were doing to carb up for finals or if it was the lighting or something, but they just looked a lot softer. Kevin was no exception. Kevin Lavroni took second at 95. Whereas this here is from the finals at 93, and in that contest, Dorian carved up perfectly for the finals. He was a little bit flat in prejudging, I noticed, But in finals, he was full and maintained all that great hard conditioning. And since he was a little fuller, he looked even more conditioned. So in this shot, Dorian of 93 looks better for sure. He's got better conditioning. You can see better striations through the chest, much better leg separation and detail, better vascularity overall. But, 95 has its aspects. His chest, while not striated, is a lot fuller and thicker. His delts pop up a lot better. They're much thicker, and his lats are much bigger and thicker, and they're wider. They come out and fill up a lot more of the space. 93's lats look like these balls underneath his arms. They're huge and they're bulbous. They don't have that nice lat shape that you would expect. They look like a ball, not a lat. Whereas 95, they're even bigger and they look more like a lat. And they come around, at a slightly less curved angle, and it fills out better, it's wider. And I know that there was one picture from the prejudging of 1995 that I couldn't find. It was the black and white picture, and his conditioning and separation was much better, almost on par with 93. Actually, pretty much on par with 93. And the way his lats filled out was just so incredible. So this one, I'm leaning slightly towards 95, but, y'all can give a take in the comments section. I'm obviously putting a little bit of politics in on this one because I've seen Dorian look better in 95. And I've seen him look worse than this in 93. So I'm going to give the front lats for the 95, mostly for those much, much bigger lats. Now we've got the side chest. And for this one, we've got two pictures. This one and the next one I'm about to show you. Here you can see his arm, and he's posing a little bit different, but his arm's a little bit fuller in 93, but his forearm and tricep over here look a little bit thicker. Even though that bicep here was torn, he's still built it up remarkably huge, and it looks thicker, more separated. His far pec looks a little bit more striated, and his near pec definitely looks more separated, but that's mostly because he's flexing it harder. Speaking of flexing harder, he's got these veins bulging out like mad, both in 93 and 95, but even more so in 95. His rear delt specifically looks to pop more in 95. So overall, it looks like 95 has a little bit of an edge on conditioning, but 93 looks a little bit fuller through the arms and the chest. Now, this shot, I think, seals the deal. 95 has a much better quad, and the conditioning up through the arm and shoulders is a little bit better. However, 93's chest is much broader, much fuller and thicker. He's showing a nice broad bow here. I really prefer the chest to be opened up in the side chest pose, especially that near pec to be open. It shouldn't be scrunched up like this, especially when your midsection is as thick as this. And that's another thing that 93 has on 95, is that 93 has a much more streamlined waist, if you can call Dorian Yates' waistline streamlined. And so it gives him a much nicer taper down to that waistline. So that little waist plus the bowed chest, the slightly fuller arms, and the legs are still remarkably conditioned, even if they're not quite as hard as Dorian's up here, looking like a slab of beef jerky through here, through the quad. That's rare. But yeah, so overall, 93 takes that side chest shot. Now we've got the Christmas tree pose. This is something Dorian was famous for just because it was so ridiculously impressive on him. And I will say this, for 95, his lats are wider, and they're a little bit thicker. You can see them popping a little bit more from the spinal erectors here. They're just a little bit thicker, and they're wider here. And this outermost part comes down a lot further, which shows a huge improvement in lat development. The back is one area where Dorian Yates just improved and improved and improved year after year. That's not something everyone can say. Ronnie Coleman, his back just dwindled when he was getting older. But that being said, Dorian Yates of 93 has much sharper conditioning, and you can see, first off, much better striated glutes. Even flexed here. If Dorian was properly flexing his glutes in 95, they wouldn't be this striated, especially not this deeply cut. And then in 93, the lats and the spinal erector striations just seal the deal. This looks like thick cords upon cords of muscle. It looks like you can pick out every single striation that exists in his lats, and that's something that just a little bit of extra thickness isn't going to make up for on the part of 95. And the traps are about the same too, with a little bit more thickness and separation on the lower traps than 93 even. So Christmas tree goes to 93. Now we've got the rear lat spread, and this is where 95 definitely turns the tables. 95 looks like a fucking beast in this shot. Here he's got the striated glutes, same level as 93 does. His hamstrings are just as, if not more, striated than 93, and his thighs and overall, as well as calves, are so much thicker than 93. That's another area he continued to improve, is his legs. He just got bigger and bigger and thicker and thicker. And then when it goes to the back, there's no contest here. 93, obviously, Dorian had an amazing back, one of the best backs of all time, but in 95, it was just on another level. That extra width and thickness of the lats, as well as size and thickness through the traps from top to bottom, is just putting 93 to shame. The extra thickness in the traps is creating more separation that wouldn't otherwise be there because 93 has better conditioning. But the extra thickness is making up for that and making it look like the condition is even better on 95's part. So 95, dominant victory in the front lats, in the back lat spread here. This and the front double bicep for 93 are probably the two most dominant victories in this whole contest. Now we've got the back double bicep, and this is where Dorian of 93 comes and hits back, especially in these shots here. I'll show you what I mean about that in a minute. But much better striations top to bottom, better striated glutes, hamstrings are about on par. Calves are a little more vascular here on 93, and then striations top to bottom through the back, from the traps all the way down through the lats and the spinal rectors. I know this picture is a little bit blurry. You can still see that detail showing it's better than 95. And then obviously the biceps are just worlds better than 95. Here you can see this is the torn bicep. The peak is much higher. It's smaller. It's almost non-existent. And on the right side, he's hitting the arm a little bit differently, rotating his fist forward to kind of hide that peak so that it can look more symmetrical, because he knew that that was a problem for him. But that being said, with this shot, 95 is destroying 93. Here, the only thing 93 has on 95 is better striated glutes and slightly fuller biceps. Everything else, the delts are pretty much on par with a little bit more size in 95, especially in the rear delts. And the back of 95 looks like it's twice the size of 93, with better conditioning in the lower back. This is what I'm talking about with finals versus prejudging. Is this picture here is from the prejudging, or is from the finals of 93, where he had carved up well, he had thickened up, filled out, and he looks amazing. He's beating 95 here on conditioning and thickness that almost matches 95. This picture is from prejudging, where he wasn't carved up, he was flat, and he was actually, in my opinion, losing the back double to both Flex Wheeler and Sean Ray. And that's not something you should be able to say about Dorian Yates. I will say, though, the arms and the delts of Dorian 93 are dominant in a way you would never expect for Dorian Yates. But the back of 95 is just so much better. So overall, I still give this pose to 93, but it's important to keep that in mind, that some pictures look insane and other pictures just aren't as good. And there are a lot more really amazing pictures from Dorian from 93 than there are from 95. So when you make your judgment, keep that in mind. Now I've got the side tricep. This is where, I will say this first. 95 and 93 are by far the best years for Dorian Yates in the side tricep. But this is where that extra fullness of the arms and the chest and that slightly tighter waist on the part of 93 is really hitting home. You can see, especially in the medial head of the tricep, where as here it's flattening out in 95 and the elbow is starting to pop out and get a little more bony, a little more pointy. The horseshoe is still amazing, don't get me wrong, but that medial head is flattening out and showing a thinner looking arm, showing the future dwindling of the tricep to come. Whereas in 93, it's thick, it's full, there's no bulging, popping elbow. The horseshoe is as big, if not bigger, than 95. The shoulder is the same size, roughly. The delt pops a little bit more, a little bit rounder here, 95. Overall, front to back, we're talking, nitpicky details. The forearms look thicker in 93. The vein is more impressive. He's more conditioned in 93. The obliques are better in 93. The abs are better in 93. The waistline is tighter in 93. The chest is fuller in 93, comes down further. That's one thing to look for in a side tricep, is if your chest bows down here and reaches almost at the bottom of your horseshoe of a good thick tricep, you're hitting a really good side tricep. One area that Dorian of 95 has on 93, as usual, is the legs. That side quad is a little bit thicker, a little bit harder. The glutes a little bit thicker. The hamstring is a little bit thicker. But overall, the leg difference isn't nearly enough to make up for that upper body difference. And 93 is taking another win here. Next, we've got the ab and thigh. And this is going to be the last pose of the night. I don't include the most muscular for these 90s comparisons because it wasn't judged back then. They only had 7 poses, not 8, and the most muscular was something people who were good at hitting the most muscular would just hit when they were done with comparisons to try and keep in the judge's mind. That would be the likes of Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, sometimes Sean Ray. Dorian would only hit it at the end of his routine in the earlier stages of his career when he was a little bit better with his not torn bicep. And this is an interesting situation. The waistline of 93 is obviously much tighter, with the abs a little bit more narrow. The leg separation is about the same each year, but 95's looks a little bit harder, maybe a little drier. Now, 93 may have the tighter waist, but 95 has a wider lats. 95 also has more vascular lats as well as a better separated serratus and obliques. Even his abs are a little bit more cleanly separated, even if they're a little bit wider than 93. But then 93 hits back with a slightly better chest. So 93 might have a slightly better overall V taper, whereas 95 has more of a dominant width and thickness factor. This one is something I can't quite decide on, and so I'm going to let all the fans and viewers make a decision here on the ab and thigh. So leave your vote down in the comments. Who wins the ab and thigh shot, 93 or 95? Overall, guys, 95 takes the front relaxed, the front lat spread, the rear lat spread, and arguably the back double bicep, though I give that one to 93. 93 takes the side relaxed, the front double bicep, the back double bicep, the side chest, and the side tricep. And when you put all those poses together, whether 95 wins the ab and thigh or 93 wins the ab and thigh, your victor today is 1993. This has been an Iron Grind production and collaborating with Marx Max Muscle, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Go check him out and he'll have his own opinion on this as well. Go check him out, leave a like, comment what you think, and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more. Have a nice day, guys.